Hello, class of public speaking. This is my demonstrative speech done in the comforts of my own home. And what makes it great is I just get to sit down and not see your guys' faces. Just to show you, Miss Wimmer, I do have my outline. I'm just doing it on the computer instead of having a piece of paper in front of me. Now, if you guys thought my last speech was boring, this one is going to be 10 times as boring. And I promise you, next speech, I'm going to make it 20 times as boring. I'm trying to up the ante every time. But in general, I do take an interest in IT. And, I thought you guys would be interested in it too because it does affect your guys' lives. So if you guys remember in my last speech, I was talking about a router. That device that sends messages over and it gets you to the internet. It lets you use Facebook. Well, that device is important, extremely important. Not just because it lets you send your memes over Facebook, and not just because you get to make fun of Trump, and not just because you get to send Snapchats to your friends. This is the device that started everything, intercommunications in the world, and I want to explain a little bit about that. But the problem with this whole internet router thing is that it's relatively new. And the problem with it is that there's a lot of kinks and problems that we still have to fix with it. And when I say relatively new, I mean relative in like a sense of cars. You guys are gonna hear plenty about cars because the kids in this class like to talk about cars a lot. The one problem with the router itself is that it's unsecure. And that's why the government spends billions in cybersecurity just to keep themselves safe. And I don't mean it's unsecure in just a national security sense. I mean it's unsecure in a privacy sense. Whenever you go to sleep, you guys lock your doors at your house so no one messes with you and no one messes with your stuff. But when it's our own computers, for some reason we just don't care. We just let it, we leave it. We don't care to secure anything because you guys don't really know how to, but I think it's important to know how to. I mean, for example, you're hiding your credit cards, your passwords, and some of these messages on Facebook. Do you really want people to see them? I mean, do you really want people to see these Facebook messages you guys have? But the best part of it all is that let's say someone gets past the lock in your house and they do steal something or they do mess with you and you guys catch them. There's going to be precautions against them. There's going to be law, and you're going to take them to court, and they're going to get in trouble. But let's say I get past your router and I hack into your router. No government precautions against it, and there's not even laws against it. I could literally check your guys' Facebook messages, see your guys' credit cards, and see private information you guys don't want me to see, and I won't get in trouble at all. So through this, I want to teach you guys how to properly secure a router. Show you guys, and yes, I realize the mic quality decreased a lot, but I want to show you guys this is what a router is. It usually is somewhere in your house. I know your parents probably have it. That's how you guys get on the internet. And then it's just connected through some phone line that goes down there. And I'm just showing you guys this so you guys physically know what it looks like. Alright, so here we are in a simulator program. It's called Packet Tracer because kind of misleading, but you guys can't actually do this in real life because you're going to need extremely expensive equipment. And that's what's kind of weird to me is that we don't offer this sort of thing to the public. But this is a simulation program and it can basically simulate what would be going on in real life. So right here, this is you guys, right here, what I'm highlighting. It's PCPT, and that will simulate us or you. That's going to be your computer, everything you can do with it, all that kind of fun stuff. And right here is your switch or router. The differences are kind of small, so I'm not going to go into that. Let's just pretend that this is your router right here. All right, it's easier to work with in this program. So pretend like we're going to open up your switch, and how you do that is through this blue cable right here. It's a console cable, which means you can work through your switch like it's a computer. So what we're going to first do, we're just going to focus on this. This is like right here the command prompt of a computer, if you guys have ever seen that. It's where you can work and program whatever you want onto it. So we're first going to enable the router. How you do that is you hit enable, and now the switch is enabled. After that, now the switch is able to be used. We're going to configure it. So how you do that, you first hit configure, And I'm going to shorten it. You usually do terminal, but it's easier just to do config T or even conf T. You learn all these shortcuts or whatever. So after the router is in config terminal mode, which means now you can get into it and now you can do whatever you want to it. And here's the problem. This process that I'm going through, if I went through your guys' switch like this, I have everything. I basically can access all information that's going through it, and that's where the whole hacker thing comes in. It's not that complicated. It's difficult to work with, but it's not as magical as you guys think it is. So what we're going to do, we're going to type in interface VLAN 1. What this is doing is now giving me the ability to give it an IP address. And we have to do that before we can do any type of security. We just have to go through this. I'm going to give it a very basic IP address like that. Now it has an IP. So one way to remain more secure is not by giving it an IP, now it just exists, now it's a thing, is by, let's say, giving it a host name. So what this is doing, giving it a host name, is allowing you to know what switch or what router you're working with. And this is important. This is crucial because you should know if you have different types of switches or different types of routers, which one you're working with or which one's being messed with. And that's the only reason I'm giving it a host name, is because in my personal opinion, I think that's more secure to work with. So I just restarted the switch, and I want to show you guys another thing you can do to make it more safe. It's now called switch because I entered a reload command, and I realized I just told you guys that it should be named something, but I want to show you guys something else, and I figured I'd just restart it. So once you get back into config T, you're gonna want to give it a banner. Okay, now what is a banner? I'm gonna write it out and then I'll explain to you guys what this thing is. Alright, so what I just did there, I typed out, and I might have spelled unauthorized wrong, I don't know, I was doing it for the video. So this is a banner message, and like when I was saying, somebody can access your switch or router without getting in trouble. But there's a way to get past that, and it's kind of the way the IT, companies got around being able to get into people's stuff. This is showing now, like, what the switch is doing when it opens up. So now when I turn on the switch or when I access the switch, this message pops up. The banner says, "This switch will not be used. Any unauthorized use will lead in criminal charges." Basically me saying, if you guys use this switch, or if you guys do it without my permission, I can go to court. I can send you guys to court for it. And that's another thing that will lead it in more of a secure way. And this is a very basic setup of how to configure a switch. That's basically all you really need to know at this point, because as long as you have that banner message, everything will be fine. Nobody can get into it, and even if they do, they're going to be in trouble. You can enable passwords, but it's kind of complicated and a little bit too long to show, so I'm going to end it here, and I hope you guys learned maybe a thing or two about how to configure and how to make your switch more safe.